there is an oral storytelling tradition here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Today, we have invited Creighton Pencheon, a storyteller himself, to let us know if this is a dying art form in the Federation. So good morning, Mr. Pencheon.
Good morning. And the leg bend and the story end.
Like the just so.
That's simple.
Just so. The story finish. Yes. So did storytelling come from Africa to the Caribbean?
Certainly. Those of us who know our West African history would have learned about the griot, the African griots. And these men were the keepers of the tradition. Okay. They were the reservoir of all the knowledge and history of the people. And very often they were called upon to recount the history of the people, recount the stories and traditions and other aspects of their culture. And so they form a pivotal role in the lives of people, of their people. And of course, we know the history of the transatlantic trade too well. Our ancestors were brought across to work on the plantation. And plantation history is rife with storytelling. Because enslaved Africans, when they got their free time and they had time in the evening, they would gather on the doorsteps, in open spaces, in the backyard somewhere, under those big evergreen trees in the estate yards, wherever they could find a space to tell their stories. And there's something about stories. The slave masters couldn't take that away from them, because the stories of Anansi, the Jumbi stories of the supernatural, were locked up in their collective memories, so they could not be touched. They were preserved, yes, and so they were able to pass them on from generation to generation.
So why would you say we tell stories in general?
We tell stories because it's to recount our history. We tell stories for entertainment. We tell stories to instill sanctions and values in our people, in our children. And so there are a number of reasons why we tell stories.
Mr. Pencheon, we said it in the introduction that storytelling might actually be a dying art form. Is that your experience? And if so, why or why
not? Just this morning I was talking to somebody and I was telling them that I was a techno peasant, but I was forced to get with the times and use the technology, because I think no longer we have the time to go out on a moonlight night and sit on a step somewhere in an open space and tell stories. We don't see that anymore. The technology have taken away all that. Children are more caught up in the techno.
The
devices, so to speak. And people, our time too, we don't have much. We are always on the hustle and the bustle, and people are going here, there, and everywhere, and sometimes nowhere, you know. And so we don't have the time, because we're so caught up in the hustle and bustle of life.
So that sounds like you're saying it is in fact a dying art form.
It is. There used to be a few persons, older persons, who were around, who were telling stories, but unfortunately they have all gone on. And so I think I'm the lone person who does it on a regular basis.
Okay.
On a regular basis. There are other persons who would do something now and then, but I think I'm the only culture bearer, so to speak. You know.
Cultural icon indeed.
Yes. I know you as Papa George. Who was Papa George?
Papa George was this character that was created for a UNESCO project. An OAS project, forgive me. An OAS project back in the 1980s. I think it was the early 80s. And he was an all-knowing old sage who had learned from the years of experience, and he has been through all the travails of life. And so he was that reservoir of wisdom and knowledge. And so he was that figure in the community, and he was concerned about his environment. He was concerned that the old traditional ways of life were slowly disappearing. People were no longer cared about the environment. They were littering in the gut sides and the beaches and so on, and he was there to warn them and admonish them that they need to get rid of this practice.
Lucia boy? No safe. Say no safe. 4 days now I fishing and nothing at all to show for it. You people polluting the rivers, cutting down trees, and all this soil and rubbish end up in the sea.
Yeah, sir. All I did was clear more land to plant more food. So, Kadima.
We need to strike a balance, my friend. Right now, the sea is polluted, the coral reefs are dying, and soon the tourists would not come.
Well, you have a point.
You've got mail.
Wait, I've got agri-mail.
We will now have a few stories from our famed Papa George. Take it away.
Once upon a time, there was a fella by the name of Georgie. And Georgie used to live in a place they call River Gut in Pencheon. Now, Georgie was a master guitar player, one of the best in the whole of St. Kitts and Nevis put together. Every night, he would take up his guitar and he would go all over to play. Sometimes he would be found in St. Paul's, sometimes Deep Bay, sometimes all over. One of his favorite places he used to go was Monkey Hill, because there was a string band that he used to provide music for. Now, Georgie used to walk late at nights, and his grandmother used to always tell him, Georgie, don't let midnight meet you on the road. That is the time when evil Jumbie does be on the prowl. Georgie said, me ain't afraid, no Jumbie. Me ain't afraid of nothing. And so every night he would come home, use the same part, past Holland Gut, past Wash Gut, past the old sandbox tree by Cunningham Estate. One night, when Georgie finished playing and he was coming home, man, he was happy, man, and he was singing at the top of his voice. See me roll and tumble, see me on the road. When I got in my liquor, see me on the road. Me ain't afraid nobody, see me on the road. Me ain't afraid nobody, see me on the road. Just then, he saw a figure at a place called Holland Gut. As he got closer, he saw a man smoking a cigarette, sitting down on the Holland Gut wall. Just then, Georgie began to get frightened. Then he remembered he had 2 cigarettes in his pocket, but he didn't have a lighter. So he said, this is a good opportunity. He wants a smoke. And so he took out his cigarette and he went up to the figure, the man sitting on the wall, and he said, could you give me a light? As soon as he put out his cigarette to get a light, everything disappeared in thin air. Boy, Georgie became frightened, and Georgie began to increase his step. When he reached, he took out his guitar again and he started playing. This time he was playing. Moonshine tonight, come make we dance and sing. Moonshine tonight, come make we dance and sing. Me the rock so, you the rock so, on the banyan tree. When he was about to reach a place called Washgut, right at Cunningham Estate, he saw the same figure, the same man that he just passed at Holland Gut. And the man, he walked over to him, and the man said, well, give me a play of your guitar. And Johnny said, you could play guitar? He said, well, I could, I try a thing. He said, well, I'm the best guitar player on the island. You say, you are the best guitar player? So you are a master then. And the man started to play up a storm on the guitar. His fingers were going like lightning. Georgie was so amazed. He stood with his mouth wide open. He couldn't believe what he just heard. He said, man, you're a master guitarist. How did you get so good? He said, you think I good? If you think I good, no. You should have heard me when I was alive. Johnny run. The man calling, Mister, come back for your guitar. Georgie, come back for your guitar. Georgie run and run and run. Out of breath, pass, up a Keon, down Down river got, running, open the door, went inside, down wet a clammy sweat, and locked the door behind him. The next morning, when Georgie was going to work, the estate workers at Cunningham Estate saw the guitar they lean up by the sandbox tree, Mark Georgie, and they brought the guitar to give Georgie. Georgie said, "Me no want no jumbo guitar." And Georgie never let midnight meet him on the road again. And he got somebody to make another guitar for him. And the leg bent and the story ends.